Hi, this is Eric Teplitz, and today's daily insight can best be summed up by a quote from Will Durant, who said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." So much of our behavior throughout the day is unconscious and automatic. And this serves actually a very practical purpose. If we had to deliberately think about each and every step that we take, literally, throughout the course of our day, we wouldn't be nearly as efficient or effective. Instead, what happens is through repetition, we adopt these unconscious habits, and they allow us to move through our day with much greater ease. The problem can be when we adopt habits unconsciously or we adopt bad habits, that is, habits that don't really serve us very well. However, if you can accept the fact that as humans, we are creatures of habit, we can actually use this knowledge to our benefit and leverage it. How do we do that? We do that by consciously choosing at least some of our habits. If you think about it, you didn't come out of the womb brushing your teeth or even knowing how to do it. You didn't have any teeth, for one thing. But at some point, you learned how to brush your teeth. And most likely, this was a positively reinforced behavior. And it got to the point where you would do it each day until it became routine, it became habitual, it became something you didn't really have to think much about. You simply did it. Now, you are still making a choice each and every day when you go into the bathroom to go ahead and brush your teeth. But because that behavior has been so strongly reinforced through daily practice, it really doesn't take much initiative or deliberation to actually go ahead and brush your teeth. It has become automatic, and hopefully, so has flossing. Anyway, once again, if you understand that we are creatures of habit, and that we can adopt new habits. We do it all the time because a habit is either strengthened through reinforcement and repeated behavior, or it is weakened through a cessation of that behavior. So we're always in motion. We're never static, and some of our habits are going to be stronger at certain times, and others are going to be weaker. Again, this isn't necessarily a problem if we're conscious about our habits, at least to some extent, and if we're deliberate about installing habits that we know will benefit us. So what I'd like to suggest today is that you think about what kind of person do you most aspire to be? And then I want you to think about what habits, if you adopted, would most likely lend themselves to becoming that person. For instance, if you want to be a writer, well, then obviously a habit to adopt would be to write on a daily basis. And make it more or less routine. Take the charge out of it. If writing is something that you currently dread or avoid or procrastinate doing or have a lot of resistance toward doing, then by building this muscle of making it a habit and a routine, you're much more likely to push through that resistance, to become familiar with it. Oh, yeah, this is how it always feels when I start, and then move through it and write. And again, we are what we repeatedly do. And the more we engage in any behavior, the more we're reinforcing it. So there are potentially lots of habits we could choose from that would benefit us greatly to install, especially over the long run. Think about it. If you literally never brushed your teeth your entire life, what would be the net result of that lack of behavior, that lack of habit? Well, your teeth would likely be in pretty bad shape and would rot and most likely fall out at an early age. But by adopting habits like brushing and flossing, we're much more likely to have healthy teeth and greater overall health in general. And so there are many other habits like this that you could choose to adopt and install. Now, when you're initially introducing something, a new behavior that you're hoping to adopt and eventually turn into a habit, something that you do automatically, almost unconsciously, it's so routine. It does take discipline initially to install that habit because you're doing something new and unfamiliar, and it probably feels a little awkward or it feels a little uncomfortable. until you get to the point where you've reinforced it so much that you do it without thinking about it. So initially, the first step to installing a habit of your choice instead of simply adopting one by default is to make a conscious decision that this is a habit that you want to include and incorporate in your life. And then it does initially take some discipline to get it going. So in the next video, I'll talk a little bit about discipline and how to cultivate it, especially in service of something that you really want to give yourself in the form of either a habit or perhaps a goal that you are shooting for. So until then, I'll see you next time.